What's the difference between an idol worshiper and a worshiper of the true God? There's a similarity between idol worshippers and most Christians, most Muslims, most whatever religious groups there are in the world. There is not much difference between them and idol worshippers, and I'm going to explain to you why. That's because they're not as convicted as true servants of God. An idol worshiper worships an idol because one is passed down from their generations. Their parents worshipped idols, their grandparents worshipped idols, so they worship idols because that's what they know. Other idol worshippers worship the idols because they strongly believe that it does something for them, right? So they believe that. They have faith in that. Side note, that's also why God said that even though he doesn't punish children for the errors of their fathers, there's another passage where he says that he is the God who brings punishment upon children and upon their children's children, even up until, what is it, like the third or 10th generation or something like that? Because the context of that passage is he knows that if your parents were this, you're 9 times out of 10 going to be that, unless you're wise enough to break away from that. So that's what God is talking about there. But the idol worshiper has faith in that idol. But the idol has never done anything for him, obviously, because it's just an idol. But he has faith that it does do something for them. And others, they might not even have faith, but they just do it because their parents do it. You know the phrase, I was born a Catholic, I will die a Catholic? Whether you are in the true religion or not, if you just believe because your parents believe, if you just believe because of just believing because you were born into that culture, understand there is no difference between you and an idol worshiper. God takes no pleasure in blind faith. Let me repeat that. God takes no pleasure in blind faith. He takes no pleasure in that. If you are in the true religion, but you worship God because your parents worship God, well then, if you were born into an idol worshiping household, you would do the same thing. If you were born as a Muslim, you would be a Muslim. You're born a Christian, you are a Christian. But a Muslim has as much faith as a Christian, and they all have as much faith as an idol worshiper. God takes no pleasure in blind faith. Understand what I'm trying to say? You have to convince yourself. You have to test out whatever religion you're born into, whatever religion is brought to you. You have to test it out. You have to do your due diligence. There's a reason why God gave us a conscience, a brain. There's a reason why the Bible also says, test every inspired saying to see whether it is from God or not. You have to do this. If you're born as a Christian and you just believe that Jesus is God because your parents believe that, well, there's a reason why idol worshippers will die for their idol. So you will die for Jesus, you will die for Yeshua, or you will die for the one true God. But what separates you from an idol worshiper? Have you tested out to know whether the God you serve is the one true God? If you haven't, I'm not going to say that God won't be pleased, but what's the difference between you and it? So what? So just because you happen to be born in the right religion, now, oh yeah, well, I would just happen to be born in the right religion, but had you not been born in the right religion, then you would suffer the same fate as those who are not born in the right religion. I hope you guys really understand what I'm trying to say here. If I'm born as a Catholic and another person is born as a Catholic, right? The other person, he's not going to test out whether what he believes is the truth, but he will die a Catholic. And he'll be so he would have such a strong conviction in what he believes, not because he's tested it out, not because he's confirmed and sure that it's the truth. No, it's because he was born into it. Do you really think that pleases God as much as someone who, if he is born in the right religion, tested out to make sure that, okay, just because my parents believe it don't mean it's the truth. If I was born in Senegal, most likely I'll be a Muslim. Doesn't mean it's the right religion. Like, come on. Why are you a Christian? Why are you not a Muslim? What, just because you were born here and Christianity was what was brought to you? So, and I bet you 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, I'll bet you they would be adamant about their belief as a Christian. And had they been born in Sudan, they would be adamant about their beliefs as a Muslim. What I'm trying to say is God takes no pleasure in blind faith. You believe blindly because you were born into a certain system. Your parents believe a certain system. You're around a certain system. The community is like that. You have to test out. If you're a Muslim, test it out and see if it's true. If you're a Christian, test it out and see if it's true. If you're an idol worshiper, test it out and make sure if these idols actually do be, you realize that, okay, these idols don't do anything. Okay, let me look for the truth. Let me search for God. And like God told the Israelites, he said, I would not have told the Israelites to search for me if I could not be found. He says he makes bold proclamations not in private, but in public places. What does he mean by that? God does not speak in private. When he speaks, all his angelic sons hear his proclamations. So you know that God is going to do what he's going to do. Not only because God can't lie, but because there are people watching him, and these angels have perfect memory. They're going to say, our Father say he's going to do this. He's not doing it. Like, no, well, God is going to do it. So that's what God means. He would not have told the Israelites to search for him if he could not be found. He would not have placed this command in the Bible to the world if worldly people searched for God but could not find him. No, he can be found. That's why he said what he said. If you search for him, you will find him. He will make sure that you find him, but you have to search for him. Blindly following what your parents told you and not being open-minded to hear other opinions is not searching for God. That is not searching for truth. To search for truth, you have to be open-minded. Don't just be like, don't just stick to your own ideology with a closed mind. Be open-minded. Test out everything to see whether it is from God and ask God to help you. If you firmly believe that Christ is God, well, you know there's a debate between whether Christ is God or not. Well, just because you're born into believing that Christ is God, automatically you know Christ is God? No. Test it out. Have an open mind. If there are debates going on, that tells you that it's not as simple as you think it might be. So let God help you. But don't say, I know Christ is God, so let me pray to Christ because he's God. No. Pray to whom you act as if you don't know. And pray to God or pray to Christ. Because whatever you believe, let the true God direct you. Don't be closed-minded. God takes no pleasure in blind faith. There was something else that I wanted to say. Right now I remember. So God says that he makes bold proclamations in public places. Right? He doesn't speak in private. So what he's basically telling you is, listen, like what I say is going to happen, not only obviously because what I say, what the word that comes out of my mouth will not return to me until it has done that which I sent it to do. Right? Not only because of that, but also because God cannot lie. He has no reason to, and it's impossible for him to lie. And 3, there are witnesses who witness the words, the proclamations of God. So he is without fail going to do what he says he's going to do. And if he says he can be found, he can be found. Whether you're an Israelite, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're an idol worshiper, whether you're a Trinitarian or a Unitarian, whether you're a Hindu, it doesn't matter. Search for the one true God with an open mind and you'll find him. Do not serve God with blind faith. Do not do that. I hope you guys understand what I've been trying to say in this video. Oh, wait, I wasn't finished. There was something else that I wanted to say, why I started off on this video. You also, not only do you have to find the true God, but you also have to, and I found him. This just I found him. God is all that matters to me. I don't care what happens. God is all that matters to me. All I care about is getting closer to him. And I found him. And I mean, anyway, but this is the thing I wanted to say. You have to not only convince yourself, you have to not only find the true God, but you have to believe that God actually exists. Like, again, God takes no pleasure in blind faith. Why do you believe in him? Because your parents believe in him? Again, so what? If you were an idol worshiper, you would believe in idols too because your parents... And don't say, oh, no, I wouldn't. No, understand that you can't... 9 times out of 10, if you're born into a certain system, you're going to follow that system. That's why God knows that. It takes a special intellect to break free from that. It's not as easy as you think. That's why if you go to certain countries, most people are what that country believes. There's a reason for that, okay? But apart from, you have to convince yourself that God exists. Okay, you say, oh, I believe in God. Well, why do you believe in God? Has he done certain things in your life? Is it because of what you see in nature? You know what I mean? Like, is it really because you believe, or is it really because you were born into a certain system that already believes in God and so you follow that? Because unless you test it out, when times of trials and tribulations come, you will not be solid in the faith. You won't be. When things are easy, it's easy to hold on to your belief in God. But when things get tough, like when the great tribulation begins, that's when God is going to know who's really with him and not. Understand too that that's why God is bringing the great tribulation. It partly is because of that, to see those who really believe. That's why Christ says, when the Son of Man comes back to the earth, will he really find a faith in the earth? Will he really find a faith in the earth? So someone's calling me, so I gotta bye. Okay. It's a scam call. You really have to convince yourself of God's existence to the point where you know he exists, not that you believe he exists. Right? And I always like to say, and I say this a lot, you don't believe that you exist. You know you exist, right? So I believe, you don't believe you exist. You know that, like, you know you're here. You have to have that same knowledge of the one true God, that he is there. What this really means is you're going to have to hear the other side, their debates, and then hear the other side and their debates, right? How do you know you didn't come from monkeys? How do you know you didn't evolve, right? Obviously we didn't. But when things get tough, your faith is going to weaken unless you are already on solid ground. That's why the scripture says, let he who thinks he is standing beware that he does not fall. And you can only stand if you've tested things out and you know. Okay? Now I know. But just because I say I know, don't mean you're going to take my word for it. Right? The more you understand the other debates, the more you test it out, the more you do research, and the more you ask God to help you, and the more you study God's word, and the more you try to draw closer to God, the more solid you will become. Do not be afraid to hear the arguments of the other side. What? Are you afraid that you're going to believe them? No. Don't be afraid of that. Test everything. Okay? And also, when you do that, when they bring up the nonsense of evolution, I like to call it evolution, and that you came from monkeys and all of that, then you have perfect arguments to shut them down, which will help you to convert them to also believe. Because we don't only want to edify ourselves, we want to also be able to edify others, which is why I make these videos. So, yeah. Prove to yourself that God exists. And you'll be much better off. Trust me. All right, peace. Now I'm done.